Hey there, I'm Nick Brengle. This is my YouTube channel. You probably already know that. Now today, we're gonna talk about something a little bit different. We're not gonna talk about my sex life, so keep your pants on. No, today I'm here to share my story of who I am, why I am the way that I am, and just more information about me and where I came from. So we're gonna start it right here, right now. Let's go. In 1985, John and Virginia Brengle were married, and just 2 years later, in August, on a Friday, I was born. Early on, I quickly became a performer. I think this was a combination of just having way too much energy and my mom and dad and my grandparents always having a camera around, and I was just encouraged to ham it up and act like a fool all the time.
If I was the king of the world, tell you what I do. Make me feel. Me feel. Like a natural woman.
Nick, say something. No! Wrong!
I was obsessed with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and a bunch of other things. I've always had and still have this amazing imagination, and I credit that to my parents for allowing me to always explore new things, new ideas, and really just become my own person.
That's something funny.
Hey, boys! What are you doing today? Help, help! She's after me! Who is after you? The farmer's wife. She hates my crying. She's going to make soup out of me.
I recently heard from someone that told me that there are people that have a destination in mind and others that are constantly on a journey. And for me, I think I've always been on a journey, and I still am on that journey right now. So growing up into my teenage years, I was still showing signs of a performer and wanting to create things. And it was around this time that I got interested in skateboarding, and me and my buddies, we would skateboard in the driveway, wherever, go to the skate park. We were never really that great at it, but we didn't care. And it was around this time that I was able to get access to this old VHS-C camcorder that my parents had. And if you know about these cameras, they're big things. You put the little tape in it, not the little tapes, like a big chunk tape. And then to watch it, you take it out, you put it into a VHS tape, put it in the VHS player, and watch it. It was bizarre, but we would skateboard, we would record little runs, and then we'd go inside, pop it in the VHS, and watch it. It was god awful, but we just loved it. It was awesome.
Where's that way?
We're talking like 1999. We're going way back, way back. It wasn't really until high school that I was introduced to digital video and editing and Apple computers. And I was lucky enough in high school to have access to the media arts department. My mom was the librarian at my high school, so I was always there after school. And this is when I first was introduced to iMovie, and I thought it was pretty awesome. Now, you know, it was a stepping stone, obviously, for a lot of us. iMovie is great as the first editing tool that you use. Because I think up until that point, I had a Dell computer at home with Windows Movie Maker on it. Ooh, good God, that's just bad. And so I quickly got involved in the school's morning news show that was recorded after school the day before and was shown the following morning. So I was an anchor, I directed it, I edited it, I learned all the facets that you could of making this show. Actually learned how to edit on a toaster. I won't go into what that is, but it's what, like ESPN and ABC, and I don't know if they still use those machines, but they're really advanced editing machines, programs, and it wasn't until after that even that I learned Final Cut.
This is the day in which you were born, Mr. Ross.
Hey, that was a stupid, great, fantastic machine of
And so in school, I was learning how to use Final Cut and iMovie and different cameras, and just teaching myself every day new things. And so finally, outside of school, I started to shoot my own short films and things like that. And man, they were just the worst. They were bad.
Stop it!
Oh, but see, you've already started it.
No! But you can't make me! The piece is in place, John! Now do it! Do it!
Right now I'm using lighting equipment and also the Rode video mic.
Quiet on the set.
No!
So after high school and graduating, I attended a community college just to get my general AA. That was never completed. That never happened. Hated college. Hated the concept of school. Didn't want to do it. And I think I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but at the same time had no idea. And also at this time, I had taught myself how to play the guitar over a few years and was singing and playing solo shows out and about. So that was happening as well. And I thought, hey, maybe I can do this. I don't know. And around this time, I was in a bad relationship. I was a terrible person. I didn't know how to save money. I got in trouble with the law, which is a totally crazy story for another day.
This is little films. Just kind of want to do something, you know, for the community. That doesn't even make any sense.
And just a lot of bad things, and I slowly sort of fell away from the passion that I had for the camera and for creating things, and it was not fun. It was not a glorious time at all. I just had no direction at all in this time, and it was all, I did it to myself, really. There's no one else to blame but me. And then over the next few years, I was kicked out of my house. I had a few different jobs. I managed a Subway restaurant. Just all kinds of stupid things were happening, and I wasn't creating it all. I wasn't doing anything with my passion. I had put all of that down to deal with life because of the mess that I had created for myself. And this sounds cliche, because it will sound cliche, but I met my now wife, which many of you know her as Ariel, and I met her, and around that time is when things really turned around, or at least started to. It didn't get easy from there, but things started to turn around. I found Jesus, and that was a huge part of my restoration, whatever word you want to use, in my life. And so I slowly started to work my way back towards filmmaking and being behind the camera and doing the things that I loved. And so then I started doing more projects again. I was creating, I was working with clients on freelance projects, I was doing my own projects. It's now 4 years ago that a real good friend of mine, Jake Troyley, incredible artist, we collaborated on a documentary called Broken Lives Illustrated, and it was pretty successful for us and very rewarding, and just another very small stepping stone to the future and what I was working towards, this journey that I'm constantly on. So I think the biggest takeaway for me looking back now, I'll be 31 in a few months, and I think looking back 12 years ago to when I was in some legal trouble and I had no money and I had no direction and I just had no sense of, I think, reality. And I think that is a big part of what shaped me to where I am now, is that very intense, stressful time in my life that I created. And from those moments, from those situations, that I was, I think now looking back, fortunate enough to be in, and fortunate enough to come out of, with the support of my family and friends. And looking back, it was all meant to be. It was supposed to happen, even though it's hard to say, and you don't want to say it was meant to happen, but it was, because it led me to my wife. It led me to faith. But where things really changed was in August of 2014. Long story short, I got a phone call from a really good friend, a mentor, just somebody who's like a brother, a father to me, gave me a call and said, hey, there's this job opportunity in DC, would you be interested? And not even a month later, Ariel and I were packed up and we were ready to drive the 800-mile journey to Washington, D.C., where for the next 3.5 years, I was a video producer for a large church out in Fairfax, Virginia. My job involved producing short films, promotional content, testimonials, recording a podcast, and dealing with the live stream of the services on the weekends, and a bunch of other stuff too. But, you know.
Reminded me of my connection to this place. My fingers tingled as I reached out.
And I learned a lot from my time there and over the past 3.5 years. During that time, I also started a podcast at the beginning of 2017 called Atmosphere, and that was about just bringing creatives in and letting them share their stories. So it was a way for me to meet and connect with awesome people in the DC area, but also to give them a voice, to be able to share a little insight into their lives and their craft and how they do it and why they do it. But earlier this year, I decided it was time to move on from that job. I felt that I just was growing and I needed to find out what was next. And for me, that was working for myself, being my own boss, but on an official government level. So Nick Brengle Films LLC now exists for about 3 months now, and I've been hustling and working for myself and finding clients and working on different types of projects, and also diving into the deep end when it comes to this, YouTube, and producing a lot of content. It's been very fulfilling.
You get a sort of a benefit from being intentional and taking your time and sort of following a few steps. But I also like that it's simple
And what I've come to understand is that the way that I like to fill that missing piece is through art.
Nick, wake up.
So for me, the journey has only just begun. Everything up to this point in my life has just been a test on my heart, on my patience, and just testing this dream that I have to become a filmmaker, a creator, an artist, someone who's able to share and tell stories of this world, of this beautiful life that we get one chance at, and I want to make the most of that. So I'll tell you one last time. You only get one chance at this thing that we call life. So don't fuck around and waste time.
Give him a hug. Aww.